Boy. Okay, friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu. We're going to try this one more time and see if it works. If it doesn't, then, three strikes and you're out, as they say in baseball. I'm actually down at my in law's house for the weekend and stuff, looking out for mama. Make sure you guys take care of your mother, your significant other, and mothers to be because without them, we would all be in a hurl of hurt. So hopefully I'm going to see if we've got this working right now and see if we actually have a signal. Let me get this computer going. And I see we got two people. What's up? Hopefully that's a little bit better. Trying a different location in the house. X Factor, you're back again. How you doing, my man? Hopefully this is better. I can see we've got Gnome 301. We got X Factor. Hopefully we'll be straightened out. Sounds good, looks good. Here's the thing. Wi-Fi is crazy. I was actually trying to do it out in the back porch at my in-laws' house here because it was a great location. You got the outdoors, you got the sound of crickets and everything in there. But unfortunately, it's not working over there. So basically, I had to go through my cell phone, try and find a better spot, and hopefully this is it. This is one of those things that's hard to do is do a show when you're literally on the road and stuff. We learned that out the hard way at the draft, so I've got to get this stuff figured out so I can be the traveling road show because like they said, Papa was a Rolling Stone. He was always on the road, and that seems to be me. But welcome everybody to the show. I see we got Kristen. How are you doing tonight? We got Mark. We got Manuel. We got Raymond Thomas. How's everybody doing? I am feeling good about our Dallas Cowboys. We already have, unfortunately, our first injury, Malik Collins, and it seems like this is an annual event for him. This is the third time he has broken his foot. Broke his right foot his rookie year, broke his left foot this past year, had it operated on in January, but unfortunately, it broke. I don't know if it's the shoes he's wearing. I don't know if it's the turf that he's playing on it. I don't know what it is, but there's something that they've really got to look at. If it's getting a special shoe that's got a little extra, you know, stiffness in it or something, but there's got to be something to do. Now, I broke that, believe it or not, I broke that. That's your pinky toe, your fifth metatarsal. Um, when I was in Boy Scouts, we were actually out playing frisbee at Bull Run Park, and I ended up hitting my foot on the curb and didn't realize it was as bad as it was. I actually hiked 7 miles on it, but it swelled up. My mom took me to the doctor. Next thing I know, I was on a cast for 3 weeks and stuff. Didn't have to have surgery on it, but then I wasn't 310 pounds playing defensive tackle in the NFL. So he's going to be gone for probably 3 months. Hopefully, we'll be back beginning of training camp, middle of training camp, and so on. Now, that takes kind of a thin position. I know we've got tons of defensive ends, but defensive tackles aren't necessarily defensive ends. Defensive tackles are usually a bigger guy that's usually shorter, stubbier, kind of compacted, the fat guys that you want to have in there. Whereas our defensive ends are all kind of 6'4", 6'7", like David Irving, and our fast guys. Now, we had hoped that we would have gotten Terrell McClain back in, but he signed with Atlanta. The Cowboys, in some respects, I like what they're doing, that they're not overreaching for anybody. You can look and you can say what you want about the Cowboys. In the past, we have overpaid for people. We have spent too much as far as trades. When you look at Roy Williams for two number ones, when we signed Brandon Carr for a $50 million contract, when you looked at, some of our own players that were re-signed from Miles Austin's to Jay Ratcliffe's, we seem to be done with that. We're actually trying to get, how about getting Johnny Manziel as a backup? No, thank you. We got enough drama in Dallas. And that's one of those things I think you're better off staying away. I mean, literally, it was just yesterday that he was in the hospital for reaction to prescription drugs. I just don't want any dealings with Johnny Manziel. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Um, But the Cowboys have gotten themselves in better financial footing. They have basically wiped the slate clean. Next year, we're going to be over $70 billion in the black. Unheard of for the Cowboys. Cowboys usually go in the offseason about 25 in the red. So you're talking about a swing of about $100 million. And so when they looked at Terrell McClain, they said, we want him back, but we don't want to overpay for this. We don't want to go ahead and just spend a big pile of money on anybody. And they have gone through this offseason. Forgive me, it's been a long day. And they have gone through this offseason and they've looked for value. I can't guarantee that it's going to work, but they have looked at saying, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get some depth. We're going to spread the money around so that way we can cover all our bases. I'm glad, Cleveland. Glad that that's better for you. Um, Apologize. It's hard to know what's going to work and what's going to work when you're on the road. This is actually done with my cell phone, so go figure. But the Cowboys, I think, I use New England as a barometer. Some people will take that as you're just a homer. I mean, you're just, a bandwagon fan. You're a New England fan. No, I'm not a New England fan. In fact, I hate New England. But you have to respect what they have been able to do. I looked up something today, and unfortunately, it's from 2015. But from 2005 to 2015, you look at teams that have had drafted Pro Bowl players. On this list, the Dallas Cowboys in 2015, and all the way back to 2005, drafted 13 different Pro Bowl players, which was the best in the NFL. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. As I started going through the list, though, it's kind of funny because you think that having Pro Bowl players, lots of Pro Bowl players, would be you're having success on the field. You're going to playoffs, winning playoffs, you're winning Super Bowls. But there's no correlation to that because here's the list. As of 2015, 2005 to 2015, Cowboys had 13 Pro Bowlers, two more than anybody else over that span. San Francisco was second with 11. San Francisco. San Francisco. When was the last time they? Oh, okay. Kaepernick. They won the Super Bowl. Okay. Kansas City also had 11. Houston Texans had 10. And then the only one that has a Super Bowl ring, Seattle, had 10. But as you go down the list, you have the Bears, the Browns, and the Vikings that also had 10. Think about that. The Bears and the Browns had 10 Pro Bowl players. But when was the last time that those guys were in the Super Bowl? New England, they were also there at 10. So having a lot of Pro Bowl players doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have success in the field. What New England, as I always say, does is New England doesn't have a lot of Pro Bowl players. We always know Tom Brady is going to be Pro Bowler. Then you got Gronk. But after that, they don't have that many guys that are going to be Pro Bowlers. And the ones they do have, they trade to Cleveland to get more draft picks. What they realize is it's not about having a couple of really great guys that if you lose, you're screwed. It's about having depth. It's about having good guys. It's about 53 men on that roster. It may be that this guy only has a small role, but it's an important role. But if I can get him for 10 or 15 plays that make me a better team, then that means it's 10 or 15 plays that this guy, who's one of my key guys, maybe doesn't have to play. So the Cowboys are looking at that kind of formula and saying, you know what, with Des Bryant's amount of money that we have, it's other players we can bring in. Instead of us being reliant on just Des Bryant, let's get several different wide receivers that we can throw out there, different combinations. If we lose one, it's okay because all these guys have experience. You see that with defensive end. You see that with offensive line. The offensive line they have taken care of. Everybody knows New England's winning the Super Bowl next year. Well, New England challenges for every year. So you have to look at New England and says, what are those guys doing? Because everybody else rises and falls. Seattle is rebuilding. The Giants won a couple and they're rebuilding. Yet New England every year they're challenging for Super Bowl. Now part of that is they have a crappy division. Very rarely are the Jets, Buffalo, and Miami really challenging them. But they're doing something right. Now we know they got Tom Brady, a great quarterback. However, you look at the supporting cast. There is no great number one wide receiver there, a Des Bryant or anything like that. There are no guys that are getting overpaid on that team. There are not a whole lot of Pro Bowlers. So you have to start looking at that and saying, what is it they're doing and what is it that I can take from that? Um, Joe Snuffy, you had actually, um, our defensive coordinator basically said, and I'm in a rocket chair. What do you expect for an old guy? Rod Martinelli basically said the best acquisition we made was Chris Richard. And that's high praise coming from him because I believe that Chris Richard is our defensive coordinator in waiting. The Cowboys, when they make coaching changes, they don't go outside of the building. They always hire within. You look at Kellen Moore being brought in as the quarterback coach. You looked at Jason Garrett being elevated to head coach, was the offensive coordinator. You looked at Rod Martinelli taking over for, damn, I'm having a blank here. But literally, they bring guys in, they get them used to the Cowboy way, whether that's right or wrong, and then they elevate them. So Chris Richard, I can guarantee you, will be your defensive coordinator, if not your head coach. Did I say that? Okay, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Unfortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, I feel like Jason Garrett's going to have a great season, and the Cowboys are because whenever Jason Garrett is basically put on notice that this is it, for whatever reason, the Cowboys always respond. If you remember 2013, worst defense in the NFL. After another 8-8 season where you had an opportunity to win the last game of the season and be in the playoffs, we lose. They took away the play calling and they said, you know what, Jason Garrett's job is in jeopardy. 2014, you're catch no catch away from the NFC Championship. 2015, you lose Tony Romo and you win one game without him. There were whispers. Um, am I finished? I don't know that I'll ever be finished with the man cave. In fact, I've got a lot of stuff I'm going to be doing between now and the season begins on the man cave from the inside and the outside. So, no, it's never finished. And I think if it is ever finished, I may just die because I have nothing else to live for. Um, so, with that being said, with us having a down year this past year, with all the things that went wrong, it's time for the team to actually have a good season. And I'm looking for them having a good season. And one of the things that I love really right now is the fact that all the rookies are signed. There's no holdouts. There's no discontent. Everything is it's quiet. And it looks like the team is becoming a team. You don't have to like your teammates in the NFL. You don't have to get along. There's always going to be guys you don't like. However, these guys seem to be coming together as a family. Dak Prescott is working hard with the wide receivers. They seem to be coming along real well. Chastity, we want that. We don't really see that happening. Deshaun Thompson. I'm not sure what's your. I missed the first comment on that. Well, Van Der Esch, I would love for him to be a Rookie of the Year candidate. That would be incredible. It'd be incredible if we can get a bang from our draft class. We didn't get one last year. We did the year before, and it made all the difference in the world. Um, I'm liking what I'm seeing from our rookies. I am really high on Connor Williams. You look at him, and he is going to be a stud. If he can play anything like the attitude, his build, and everything else, we are going to be in great shape. It is going to be run over everybody and play action pass people to death. These guys are young, they're excited, and they're hungry. And I just can't wait till we actually get on the field here. Um, Cedric Wilson can be really interesting. I'm still concerned about tight end. I know we're actually playing right now, doing a little work with Noah Brown actually at tight end as well. I have not heard much about Rico Gathers. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't heard much with Jason Witten retiring. That you would think that you'd be hearing some stuff from him. Although one of the words that I've heard from some people from the Cowboys is his football IQ is not that great, and they question his desire. I mean, right now, it's all right there. If you do not have desire right now, with Jason Witten retiring, knowing I've got the spot if I go ahead and grab a hold of it, if you're not motivated now, you never will be. Do I think the Cowboys are the most slept on team this year? Um, Here's the thing that, well, okay, I'm going to be termed a homer, of course, because I'm always a Dallas Cowboy fan. But here's the thing. One thing you got to look at since Dak Prescott's been with the Cowboys, we have only lost 4 games in our division over 2 years. It's pretty good. We've been able to take care of business in our division, which is the first thing you've got to be able to do. As bad as last year was, and I know Dak Prescott has a lot to work on, but you looked at the first half of the season, as much as everybody talks about how bad Dak is, look at the first half of the season. Look at the body of work before we ended up losing Zeke Elliott, before we lost Tyron Smith. We were scoring points. We were mixing the ball around. We were actually doing a lot of really good things on offense. But once you lost that tackle, once you started getting pounded on game after game, once you lost Zeke Elliott, it was not the same team. With that being said, the team looked at all of the areas that we had problems with last year. Offensive line. You go from Tyron Smith to Chaz Green, and you give up 9 sacks in a game and get blown out. That happens. You give up 9 sacks, you're getting blown out. They drafted a stud. They brought in other guys that can be fill-ins, that can be starters, and have been starters in the NFL. So you've got the offensive line taken care of. Zeke Elliott was put on notice from the, I'll say, Turk, Stephen Jones, kind of went out there and said, we can't have these distractions. And you know what? Zeke Elliott, quiet as a church mouse. Only stuff you hear about Zeke is good, positive news. Working with kids, doing autograph signings and things, and buying tennis shoes. Believe me, if there was something out there with Zeke Elliott, TMZ would have it because they know it's gold. So with Zeke Elliott, he's never been injured. He's always comes ready to play. And he should have a chip on his shoulder after what happened with the NFL. I need to charge the phone on here. Let me plug this in while I'm talking to you. So if he's back all season without being suspended, that's a big bonus. You got your offensive line taken care of. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but you got rid of Des Bryant. Team is going to go downhill because of that. And I'll say, maybe, maybe not. You guys that have watched this channel, you know I'm going to bring this one up. 2013, worst defense in the NFL. Historically bad. They decided $16 million was too much for DeMarcus Ware. Wow, thank you guys for the super chats. I'm sorry, looking at this on my cell phone, so it's hard to catch up on it. I know I haven't done all the other ones. We'll get back. I didn't know I was going to be down here this weekend. We'll get back to that on Monday. I just got so much work to do to get caught up. But we lost cornerstone, foundation, great guy, DeMarcus Ware. Jason Hatcher, in that historically bad defense, had 11 sacks, went to Washington. See the narrative here? Everybody goes from Dallas to Washington and gets paid. And then Sean Lee tore up his knee. There's no way in the world when you lost those three key guys that you would have thought the defense got better. And I believe that this offense is going to get better simply because, one, you got an offensive line again. Two, you got Zeke Elliott, who hopefully will be there all season. And if you have those things going for you, it's not a necessity to get the ball deep a lot. It's going to be the open man because this team, as much as you may not like it, as much as you want to say it's Dak Prescott's not throwing downfield, this team success is predicated on controlling the clock. Flat out. Flat out. It's not going to be air them out and get my defense on the field. It is winning football. It's taking your time, methodically going down the field and scoring, wearing the other team down. When this team is doing everything right, what you'll notice is by the fourth quarter, the Cowboys always start taking the game over. They play better in the fourth quarter. The reason for that is you get that offensive line running down your throat, pounding on you. Defensive end, defensive linemen have gotten smaller over the last few years. You get 280, 290 pound defensive ends. They're getting hit by 320, 330 pound offensive linemen. Play after play after play, they get tired. They get real tired. And you just control the clock. Your defense plays better, of course, when they're not on the field. And what that does is it forces your team, if you're playing against the Cowboys, to be more one-dimensional. You got to pass more. And hopefully you're going to make a mistake. So that's what you have to understand, that us throwing down 30, 40-yard strikes down the field on a regular, it's not part of this equation. As much as you think it's Dak, it's the offense. It's basically the same offense we ran during the 90s. Love it or hate it, that's the reality of it. In fact, even with Tony Romo's best years are when he had a running game. It's a fact. When he didn't have to use his arm for everything. When we relied on just Tony Romo and we never had a 1,000-yard rusher, guess what? We were stuck with 8-8 seasons. Buddy Johnson, I'm lost in the conversation here. Um, you hate to see Butler go. Well, unfortunately, he burned the bridges. Um, I think I'll take Hearns over Butler any day. Thank you very much, Carolina Cowboys. Well, here's the thing, Jonathan Hankins. Um, the question is how much is he going to get? You know, he was a New York stinking Giant and went to the Colts. Um, he had 44 tackles last year, which is huge, along with 2 sacks. But he had a $30 million contract, and the Colts kind of said, you know what, that's too much money. So the question is how much money is he going to cost you? Now, I agree about Tyrone Crawford. I love Tyrone Crawford. Nice guy. He's got a Jobu T-shirt and everything else. But unfortunately, the shoulder injury that he's had that's been kind of chronic has limited him. And that's where you look at that $9.8 million contract, and you say, that's kind of a lot. And then you start looking and saying, last year he had 4 sacks. Taco had about half of the plays and had 3. So then you start saying, you know what? That's a cost savings. You bring in the young guy. And that's one of those things that a New England would look at and say, you know what? You make too much money. Before we cut you, we'd actually trade you. So, that is what it is. Sorry, getting a little message there. Um, so Tyrone Crawford may be on the cut list. Um, Good luck next draft, drafting top 5. Okay, who are we talking? I'm lost on that one. Ricardo, everybody has the potential to win the Super Bowl. Here's the thing. Sometimes it's not the best team that wins the Super Bowl. You got to get a little bit of luck. You got to stay healthy, and you need a few things to go right for you the right way. I mean, had we gotten a call with a catch no catch, who knows? Maybe that would have been our year. Um, I think right now, I'd say we have as good a chance as anybody in our division to win our division. I know everybody's the Eagle fans, they're going to be killing me and everything else, but you now have a target on your back. You got a quarterback who's coming back from injury that you don't know. Now, he's saying he's going to be ready for day one, but what if he's not? What if he ends up starting out a little slow and then the fans turn on him? Then you got a quarterback controversy. You look at the team, and yes, last year they brought in a lot of new people, and it worked out. But you're bringing in a lot of new people again, and maybe it doesn't quite work out. It does take time for guys to get together. That's what I like about right now with our team. You pretty much have everybody there working together. There aren't any holdouts. There aren't any malcontents. Everybody is there trying to get better. Um, the defensive tackle position does definitely bother me. Um, the Hankins one, I wouldn't mind them coming in and looking at. I'm surprised nobody has looked at signing him already with the numbers that he has. You want Randy Gregory back. Well, here's the reality with Randy Gregory. We got a logjam at defensive ends. I mean, seriously, we got a lot of defensive ends. Now, it'd be great if he comes in and becomes Charles Haley, but I don't know. I don't want to go there with this statement, but no, I'm going to leave this one to myself. But that's just one of those hard ones. Um, they definitely want him back. Okay, they're definitely, at least Jerry Jones wants him back. Um, I'm trying to understand what they did for 2,000 pages. 2,000 pages to give to the commissioner on his reinstatement. You get the players that are, backing him. Sean Lee, Jeff Heath is. Um, so I don't know. Well, hey, how you doing today, Vosh? So Vosh thinks he can be a top five pass rusher in the league. Well, Vosh, that's saying a lot. It would be no logjam. I tell you what, I still think we need more tackles and defensive ends. But here's the good thing, at least with Randy Gregory, he's costing you peanuts. He's still on his rookie contract. So I guess if you go at him, you don't necessarily. It's not costing you a whole heck of a lot. Heck, he's costing you a whole lot less than Tyrone Crawford did. He supposedly has been clean since July 2016 was the last field, or yeah, was the first one he passed, and has passed everyone since then. So he's been tested on a regular. So there's that. Well, Justin, true. Yeah, he was one of the highest graded pass rushers, but there's a lot of guys that are rated really, really high, but don't always work out. Um, did he play well? End of 2016? Yeah, those two games he played fantastic. So we'll have to wait and see. Remember, he hasn't played any since then, so it'll take time to get back into football shape and so on. We got a giant troll here. Do we have a capable tight end and wide receiver? Do you have a capable offensive line? Do you have a capable quarterback? You hope he's the same. I do too. I really do. I'm curious, Vosh, to see how much he's actually worked out in the time that he's been gone. What does he look like physically? I haven't seen any pictures of him. If he's looking like he's in shape or what. Um, would I take a trade for Earl Thomas for Crawford in a heartbeat? Are you kidding me? Psh, that'll never happen. They won't trade Tyrone Crawford. Yeah, yeah. The Cowboys would take that in a heartbeat. But that one's not coming. I still have worries about the back end. I'm sorry. I know Xavier Woods. I'm high on. Um, Kevon Frazier, I think he's going to be good too, but you only have Jeff Heath. That's it. You switch Byron Jones back over again, but I think you've ruined him flip flopping. Oh yeah, Cleveland Brown, the stinking Giants fan. Yeah, he's cool people. He's actually got his own channel now too. Um, I'd trade Tyron Crawford for a stick of gum and some paper clips. Damn. Answer the question, Des 27. What was the question, my man? Sorry, I missed the question. Um, Bo is ready to run over people. Well, Bo is doing a whole lot of talking. I know Vosh isn't too high on him, but I got to tell you, he's got the right attitude at least. He definitely wants to get up underneath of Zeke Elliott's wing and try and become like Zeke Elliott. Michael, late to the show. Michael Gallup was signed. Uh huh. Cowboys will face 8 and 9 in the box since there are no wide receiver threats. You know what? If they do face 8 and 9 in the box, then you know what? They're going to be getting eaten up. I'm sorry. If they do that, if Zeke Elliott is running that well, that they have to put 9 men in the box, I guarantee you we're going to be doing play action to death. Okay. Why didn't we sign McLean? I'm thinking because they didn't want to overpay for him. They had him here for breakfast, had him there for dinner. I think he was there for lunch. They talked to him. I think they ended up basically saying, "Okay, here's our offer. You know, come back with whatever you get from somebody else, and we'll match it." And I think he was just like, "You know what? Forget it." We have Bo already in the team. That's right. Well, I agree with you, Vosh. And his name is Zeke, and Zeke stays healthy, and I think Zeke's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Um, and then you got Trayvon Austin, who I think is going to be kind of a change up. Just kind of get you a little more speed back in there. After everybody gets pounded on with Zeke Elliott and everything else, you give him a blow, and all of a sudden you get some speed in there. That'll kill a brother. Um, Tony Perry, I hope that you're right that we're going to surprise some people. I think we are. I actually feel good about the team going into this year. Oh, they've got Law Nation in the house too. What's happening, Losh? Rod Smith is actually bigger and faster, Bo. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Bo is probably not going to get anywhere near the field this season. We have Taco and Cheetah. All we now need is some queso. Okay. All right. Don't want to overuse Zeke. Okay. Not sure I can do the Seattle game, Kristen. I'm actually going to try and go to the Carolina season opener. I think we're going to go to the Atlanta one. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to yet in Dallas, but I think the Washington one definitely. Um, if Gregory picked up boxing, he'd be in great shape. I hadn't heard that he's been working out boxing. What's going on, Law? I'm actually at my mother-in-law's house here. Had a little problem getting my stream going and stuff, so I'm actually sitting here in a rocking chair. Finally using my cell phone here to get this out. Well, great, Caroline. I can't wait to see you there. Nothing but the best, of course, as Law Nature says. You're listening to nothing but the best. Um, do I think we see a bigger impact from Taco? I think Taco The one thing Charles Haley actually questioned this with Taco was he actually questioned his football IQ and his desire. Um, but as you looked as the season went on, the thing that I liked about Taco last year, um, Nashville, yeah, they're talking about the drive being in Nashville. I'm like, that's half the drive to Dallas. Man, I definitely think I'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there. We'll definitely hook up again. Thing that I liked about Taco was his first step was actually really quick. When I was at the Los Angeles preseason game, we're literally like at the 40-yard line and we're watching the defensive line. I've got a couple of pictures where he is literally a yard ahead of everybody else coming off the ball. He's got a great first step. The thing with him is he needs to learn his moves better. He was very, very raw when the Cowboys drafted him. And I think they knew that, but they were worried about the way defensive linemen were coming up. I mean, defensive ends were coming off the board and they were seeing that there were so many cornerbacks out there. They figured that if we don't get one right now, we're not going to get a chance to get one later on that's of high caliber. So with more playing time, I think another year of being under Rod Martinelli, I think he's definitely going to do a lot better. Keep in mind, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, we should have drafted T.J. Watt." Well, T.J. Watt didn't fit the size that the Cowboys like for the defensive end, and plays in a different style of defense, and also had twice the snaps that Taco had. So when you look at him getting those 3 sacks in the last half of the season, hopefully that's the starting point for him for next year, and you'll see him have a breakout year. Because in all reality, defensive ends, very few come out and are Reggie White to begin with. It usually takes a year or two for those guys to develop. Same thing with wide receivers, which is one of the reasons why I was saying that I hope we don't draft a wide receiver in the first round because, generally speaking, the wide receivers don't have that much of an impact the first year. Offensive linemen, linebackers, those guys usually you can get from the bat that and start having them do some great things for you and be a boost for your team, as well as running backs. Um, Sorry, it's hard to read these as we're going through. Well, here's the thing, Leon. As far as our receiving core, I think the fact that my argument about Des Bryant, and I got killed about it, is when we've had Des Bryant, it changes the way you call the game. You have to get the ball to Des Bryant to keep Des Bryant happy, and you need to do it early in the game. Defensive coordinators know that. They're going to try and make sure that Des Bryant doesn't get the ball. And as you see, when you're trying to force it to Des has never been a guy that usually gets wide open. Des has always been a jump ball. He's always got people around him. So if Dak needs to work on his accuracy and stuff, doesn't get it to him, you get some drops and all that stuff, it changes the complexion of the game. When we didn't have Dez, and you could honestly say that we didn't exactly have the best wide receiver core in the NFL. We had Terrence Williams, we had Cole Beasley, we had Jason Witten, and without Dez Bryant, all these guys were all about the same amount of yards that season because it was let me find out who is open and I'm going to get it to that guy. There wasn't one person that they could focus on. And the more that you can keep a defense guessing as what you're going to do, the better you are. One of the things that everybody said about the Dallas Cowboys offense, about 75% of the time you can predict exactly what they're going to do between down and distance and so on. So if our team is that predictable and teams will go through and they will look and pick you apart, you're screwed. I don't care what personnel you have. If the team knows what you're about to do, they're going to stop you. So this year we have a lot of mystery because we have a lot of different guys. And instead of having one guy that's a focal point, you have quite a few of them. My name, Mark Holmes, is my Ian Rappaport. I don't know if that's an insult or if that's a good thing. Hmm. What are my thoughts about Vaccaro? Vaccaro would definitely be a help on this team, but unfortunately, he's not going to be signed by the Cowboys because he was part of that anthem protest. The same thing with Eric Reed. Again, those guys, the Cowboys aren't going to even go anywhere near it. Well, as far as Jalen Smith, well, you don't think Vander Esch can beat out Jalen Smith? Well, the good news, at least on Jalen Smith, is he says he is not using the Ritchie brace anymore, which is huge because with that drop foot, that Ritchie brace literally pulls it back up. So if he doesn't have to use that brace, and that tells me then that maybe that nerve is coming back. Maybe he is beginning to get flexion in it. And if he does, then that's great. You could look at him last year, and it wasn't a matter of him not having the football IQ. You wasn't beat mentally. He was beat physically. The mind was there, but the body just couldn't react the way it. When he had to plant his foot and try and go, especially in pass coverage, he was a liability. You could see when he would go to make a tackle, a lot of his tackles would be, arm tackles and tripping guys up. He couldn't really go and drive into a guy, drive a guy backwards. So if he does, if that foot it does heal, he could be a great, great linebacker. Well, with that being said, guys, it's actually 10 o'clock. Um, and we have finished. You need to keep notes on all the Dak haters before the season starts. Oh, man. You know what? I am done trying to argue with any of the Dak haters. They've got to determine that Dak Prescott is the worst quarterback. It doesn't matter what you show to them. And I'm not saying that Dak Prescott is Tom Brady. Um, Dak has things to work on. Dak will get better. But when you think of somebody like Aaron Rodgers, and I was trying to give some realistic numbers, head to head when they played each other, Dak's got better numbers. But when you look at Aaron Rodgers in his second year, Aaron Rodgers was still on the bench. Aaron Rodgers was still on the bench his third year. So understand, you had a guy drafted in the fourth round who wasn't supposed to be your third string quarterback going into the season, who literally 3 weeks before the start of the season became the second string quarterback and then the first string quarterback to start for the Dallas Cowboys. His rookie year, that he only had like one pass play in OTAs each practice. The fact that he did anything is amazing. But I'm done trying to convince those guys. It's just not going to work. It's like talking to a brick wall. I think Dak Prescott could go out and win the Super Bowl and they'd still say Dak sucks. Oh, it was the offensive line. It was Zeke Elliott. It wasn't Dak Prescott. So those people, I'm just going to let them be. But with that being said, you can see, guys, I am really, really tired. It's been a long, long week. And I need to go spend some time with my wife and my in-laws. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Do not forget to take care of Mama. Mama took care of us, so take care of her in return. I'm Mark Holmes. Thank you guys for watching the Jobu Sports Report. Have a great weekend and a happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there.